Hey everybody, it's Question Mark. I'm back again, and we wanted to make sure we thanked our sponsors. Of course, Truck It app has been a great sponsor for us, and they are an on-demand delivery app, which means that if you go to buy a big screen TV or a couch or something that won't fit in your vehicle, the drivers will bid on that job, and you'll have the opportunity to choose which driver or which bid you like and go from there. They can also bid on hauling away stuff as well, like, garage clutter, brush, garbage, debris, whatever. We'll put their information in the description below, but their website is truckit-app.com, and we really appreciate them sponsoring us. And then make sure that you guys click that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and turn on your notifications so that you can make sure that you get our next videos. And a couple of videos that we did before, we talked about gratitude and we talked about perspective, and I kind of hinted around to what I was going to be talking about on this video. And it's kind of a tough subject. It's hard for people to deal with this, but a lot of people deal with this kind of a thing. And we talked about gratitude, being thankful for the people that are in your life and the people that are there to support you and things like that. But the hard part is being grateful on the other side of that. And so I'm going to get into that today. So today the thing is toxic people, okay? So sometimes we have to be thankful for when toxic people leave our lives. Now, people are toxic for several different reasons. A lot of times they're a selfish individual. They could be addicted to drugs or alcohol or other things that can alter who they are or who you remember they were. So it's sad to have to think about that, but sometimes you really have to cut out toxic people out of your life. So the biggest part is when you know somebody's toxic, you'll know because they're going to ask you for things. They're going to want you to enable their habits. They're going to lie to you about their habits and what they're asking you for, and they're going to put you in a position to make you feel bad that their bad choices are affecting their life. And if you're a compassionate person, you're going to have a hard time saying no. It can be very upsetting to you when you do finally say no and that toxic person blows up, tells everybody how horrible you are, and you really just have to cut that off. You can't enable them. Don't engage with them. You might even need to block them off your social media and your phone and all those kind of things, because if you're constantly allowing them to attack you, allowing them to affect your happiness and your peace of mind and your peaceful life, if you allow that and you enable them and you engage them, it takes a lot longer for them to change, and it can destroy your life and keep you in misery for that much longer. So the sooner you're able to cut off those toxic people, the better it is. Now, is it easy? No, it's not easy. It's not easy to get rid of people that are constantly a drag on your emotions. It's not easy, because if you're anything like a good normal person, you're going to want to help. You're going to want to be there for people that you care about. And now the hard part about that is you're probably still going to care about these toxic individuals. You're probably still going to want the best for them. And at the same time, you're going to know that the more you do for them or allow them to do to you, the longer it's going to take for them to straighten out and for you to get any peace. So the big thing about this is you cannot enable a toxic person. Now, what really is a toxic person? okay? That doesn't mean that somebody that you had a disagreement with is toxic. That doesn't mean that if you have a fight with your spouse, they're toxic, because it takes two to fight. And that's why I say if somebody is toxic, don't engage, because it does take two to start slinging mud. So don't engage with them. Cut them off completely if they're toxic. Toxic people are the kind of people that will at first they'll be great to your face. They will say great things about you. They'll butter you up, and then when they need something and it's not in your power, or maybe you've just decided enough's enough and you're not going to do it, then they're going to totally flip. They're going to do a 180 on you. They're going to tell lies about you. They're going to make up stories about you. They're going to do whatever they can to hurt you, as they feel like they've been hurt. And actually, when you cut off a toxic person, you're not hurting them, you're helping them. You're helping them straighten up. You're helping them, hopefully, if it's drugs or alcohol, get off of that. If it's a mental disorder, maybe you're helping them get help, right? And it's a hard thing to go through. And I've talked to a lot of people. I've been in group chats. I've been in leadership chats. I've been in mastermind groups, and I'll get questions from people about this. And the sad thing, the really, really sad thing, is most often it's parents who have toxic adult children, and they feel guilty. They're like, well, what did I do to make them become like this? What happened in their childhood that made them turn to drugs and alcohol? What did we do that made them become an abuser? What did we do raising them that they just turned into an awful person? Well, a lot of people have this. You're not alone, okay? Sometimes people want that, that story. They want that story. They want that story of, oh, my childhood was horrible. So they'll create it like it's horrible, and it, most often wasn't. Now, I'm not saying that parents are perfect. I'm a parent. I'm not perfect. I'm sure I made mistakes. If I could go back, I would do things differently in certain situations. But at the same time, I'm human. I did my best, and and that's what we do as parents. We do our best. We try to give our kids what we feel they need. We feel that they need love and comfort and things like that, and that's what we try to do. But sometimes we go overboard and we give them too much, and then when you do that, sometimes that can create the selfish person that becomes toxic. You give them too much, or you praise them too much. Praise them when maybe they weren't doing as great as you thought, but you praise them. You thought, okay, I'm gonna use this positive parenting stuff, and I'm gonna praise them for doing little things that they should be doing anyway. Which, that's not a bad thing, but if you overdo it, then they start thinking that they can't do any wrong. And anybody that ever confronts them or says that they're doing something wrong or they're not the greatest, they get very upset, and it's a horrible situation. So I've talked with lots of parents who had guilt for their toxic adult children, and the fact of the matter is, if you raised your children with love and you did your best and you weren't abusive and you weren't, the home wasn't always in turmoil or, whatever, as long as you did your best and there wasn't some major events that, caused your children to go off the deep end, then that's really all you can do, and it can't be your fault for adult children's decisions. When that child turns 18, 21, 25, whatever you consider an adult, they're making their own choices. And because they make bad choices doesn't mean that it's your fault they made those bad choices, because we did our best to teach them to do the right thing. We did our best to teach them to do the best for themselves and people around them. We tried to encourage them to do better at things. We tried to encourage them to seek a healthy lifestyle, all the stuff that we do as parents. And all of you parents out there know what I'm talking about, whether your kid's 2 or 42. You still care about them, you still worry about them, you still want the best for them. And and sometimes they will use that, the toxic ones will use that against you. They will use the fact that you still care about them against you. And whether you care about them in the same way, you still care about them. And you can't be held responsible for their adult choices. You can't be held responsible for their drug addictions or their alcoholism or the things that come from that. A lot of people that do excess drugs and alcohol end up with, it enhances mental disorders that they might not have ever developed, but it enhances bipolar, it enhances schizophrenia, where they always think that everybody's out to get them. Now, it might not be a full-blown case, because that I'm sure somebody's out there going to argue with me about that fact, but I've seen it. I've seen where people are fine, and then they get on something like drugs or alcohol, and then they go too far, and then even when they get off the substance, they're not the same person. They have a bipolar attitude. They have a schizophrenic anxiety about them, and it's really tough to watch, and it's tougher if you're the parent watching your adult child go through this. So toxic people will always blame others. Toxic people will always put you down to make themselves feel better about their decisions. They'll blame you for their decisions. They will create stories about you. They will tell lies about you. And we've seen this with lots of people we know, that their adult kids blame them for everything that's going on in their life. They blame them for the choice they made on what to major in college. They blame them for their decision maybe not to go to college. They blame them. I mean, every decision the adult child makes, they blame on the parent. And it's not great. But if you listen to them talk about themselves, they will tell you what amazing people they are, right? They'll tell you how amazing they are until the rubber meets the road and they have to do things. Then they'll tell you how horrible their parents were to them and how they never prepared them for anything. And it's really sad, because I know some really good people who have toxic adult children. And I know people who have given their children everything, and they grow up and despise their parents. We've always tried to make sure that when we're raising our children, we do the best we can. We give them the tools they need to succeed. We didn't coddle. You can't be that helicopter parent. You can't. You got to let your kids live and make mistakes, and that way when they do get to be adults, they'll understand that. But the problem is, even if you do that, there's no guarantee that they're not going to end up toxic, because it's almost a popular thing in our culture for adult children to just, I'm not talking about teenage rebellion, but adult children will rebel against everything their parents have taught them. Now, if somebody compliments them on a skill they have, or a attribute that they have, or maybe there's something they do that makes people feel good, or makes people happy, or whatever, they won't give that credit to the parents who raised them to be that way. But if there's something negative, they'll blame the parents who raised them not to be that way. So it's really hard to watch parents go through that. The guilt of it is, I think, the hardest thing for parents to get through. And And it's not only children, adult children that become toxic. You can have a spouse, an ex-spouse, an ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, whatever it is. They can become toxic because they'll blame you for the situation they're in, even though it was their decisions, right? And it's hard, especially if there's children involved in a breakup. You still have to be in that person's life, even though they're super toxic to you and they're toxic to your children, trying to get the children against you, type thing. And that happens both ways, men to women and women to men. They'll use their children and do that, and that's a lot of where you have to cut out that type of a person from your life as much as you can. And it's tough. It's tough to be a human sometimes, right? Because it would be much easier sometimes to just be, let that animal instinct take over and fight it out. But that's not what we are. We're humans. We have to have humanity, and we have to do our best to be caring towards other people, even if they're not towards us. Now, that doesn't mean we are, if we care for them, doesn't mean we have to let them in our lives. A lot of times that's just the worst thing, that makes you enable them. But you could have people you work with that are toxic. The person that at lunch or in the lunchroom or at the water cooler talk or whatever is always talking about other people, right? They're the ones that'll be like, hey, did you hear about, and give you a name and a fact, and the fact might be twisted, it might be not even close to correct, but they're always the ones that have those facts. And you can rest assured that if they're doing that, talking about other people, they're doing the same thing talking about you to other people. So those kind of people are just in your workplace. They can cause all kinds of issues. They can make it a miserable place to work, especially if it's something personal that you didn't want out there, that maybe you were going through something hard, and all of a sudden everybody knows about it because this one person wants all the facts and digs into it and puts your stuff out there. So it's really hard to deal with those kind of people because you have to go to work, right? But you might just do your best to stay away from them. Don't give them your information, that kind of thing. But that's a tough one too, and honestly, the social media that we have today, and I'm on social media right now. That's not all bad, but what we have today is there's so much information out there, and so much wrong information out there, and so much vitriol in the information out there. It can be biased towards things, or so our kids and our young adults that are watching this stuff, they start thinking that they need to be like that. They try to emulate the Kardashians, or they try to emulate what else is big at the time out in the world. The reality TV shows, and then the people that follow them on social media, and everything gets out, and so they think that their life has to be like that, and if they don't have drama, they're not a real person. Or I try to stay away from drama. I try not to get involved in drama, but a lot of people feel fulfilled with that drama or watching somebody else's drama, and that can create an attitude of being toxic towards others. So this is not my favorite subject to talk about. I don't have any good parables or stories to go along with this. This is just what I believe about it, and it's, like I said, it is hard if it's a family member, especially if it's your adult child. And the problem with that is you can't force them to get help. They need it, but they need somebody that specializes in whatever their issue is, whether it's drugs, alcohol, mental illness, whatever. But one of the things I want to get across is that it can't be your fault for the decisions those adult children make. It can't be your fault for the decisions that that ex-spouse makes. It can't be your fault for the decisions that coworker makes, and then everybody turns against them because they're toxic. It's not up to us to take that on. You may feel compassion towards them. You may want to help them, but you have to understand what help really is. Enabling is not help. Giving them a way out of their attacks towards others, that doesn't help either. But what you do need to do is, care about them, let them know that you care. At the same time, let them know you're not going to enable it, you're not going to engage with it, you're not going to talk about other people with them. One of the things we used to do in our leadership class, if somebody comes up, we tell the leadership students this, if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, did you hear about what Mark did? Did you hear about what he said or whatever? We always tell our students to say, well, they're not here right now, so I don't think that's proper to talk about them. And then the other thing is, if you're one of those people that are just like, okay, I can't wait for this person to quit talking, so I'm not going to engage their conversation. The thing about that, because I said don't engage, but the thing about not engaging at all, if somebody's coming to you to gossip or tell lies about somebody else, and you don't stop them, and you don't go, hey, I don't think that's appropriate. They're not here to defend themselves. I'm not gonna get into this conversation with you about somebody else. If you don't stop them and let them know you don't agree, and you're just silent and they keep talking, what's gonna happen is the next person they talk to, they're gonna say, oh yeah, hey, I was just talking to Mark and he agrees. Because if you don't say anything, they think you agree. So that's where we say don't engage. That means don't fight with them. Don't give them ammunition back. Don't enable them in any way. But don't let them speak about others or be toxic and not say anything. You need to say stop. Don't do that. It's not right. But that's it. You don't engage after that. Just let them know where you stand. I don't believe in that. I don't believe what you're doing, and I'm not going to talk about it, and I don't think you should either. Those are the kind of things that it's hard to do. It really is, because most people would rather just be silent and let them talk and hope they go away quickly. But then they'll turn around and tell people you agree with them. You didn't say anything, so you must agree with them. You didn't disagree with them, and people like that, a lot of times they're narcissistic, they're egotistical, they believe they can do no wrong, and if they do wrong, it's somebody else's fault. And so we have to guard ourselves against that. And when I started this, I talked about being thankful when you can get a toxic person out of your life. It's hard sometimes, and you'll still think about those people, especially if they're related, and you'll still care about them, but you won't have their toxicity coming at you every day. You won't have their lies coming at you every day. And hopefully you cut them off enough and enough time goes by that they stop pointing at you and they'll find another target. And that's hard. And I keep going back to the adult child that's a toxic person. It's hard on parents especially to believe that their kids would say those things about them, that they would lie about them like that. It's hard to believe that was the child that you brought into this world and you raised and you loved and you had so many aspirations for, and you had hopes and dreams for them, and then all of a sudden they just flip the switch one day and they're not who you raised. And that's kind of what I tell people. It's like, well, remember who you raised, and this person is not who you raised. They could come back to that, and hopefully they get help and do come back to that. But for all of you parents out there who are dealing with this generation of toxic adult children, and everything's your fault, every choice they make is on you, it's not. And just know that you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there. Put your comments down below. Ask your questions, maybe even write a little bit about your story, just so that other people know they're not alone. It seems like everybody we talk to, they try to put on a great face, that hey, everything's okay, family's doing great, and then when they hear something that somebody else is going through, they're like, oh man, I thought I was alone. And you're not alone. There's so many parents out there that go through this, and it's tough. It's a heartbreaking thing. I've seen people just break down and cry, talking about what their kids have done and said, and blame them for, and created things that happened in the past that didn't happen. And it's like, one person was telling me about something the kid said they did when the kid was barely at an age to remember anything, but they were blaming their parent for an accident or something, and blamed them. It was their fault. They allowed it, or they did it, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, well, who was the adult in the situation? You were the adult. You were there. Your mind was able to catch everything in real time, and it's not distorted by childhood memories or people telling the child what might have happened. So it's important to realize that you were there. So if they start accusing of things from their childhood, unless something really did happen, but then that's going to be a whole different topic, because I'm talking about the ones who are lying. And that's found out pretty easy. So when they come up with something from their childhood that never happened or didn't happen the way they said it happened, that's where they create those stories so that they can blame you. They can be toxic towards you. It's like, hey, I was the adult, I was there, I know exactly what happened, and if I'd have had a cell phone back then, I would have recorded it, type thing, right? Toxic people are so narcissistic and selfish that they can't imagine it being their fault. They can't imagine that whatever story they made up or added on to was anything that was their fault. They can't imagine that. And one thing that is really bad about toxic people is they will tell partial truths. Partial truths are sometimes, most often, worse than a lie, because it might be, hey, Mark was at his house on this day in February and a cat got ran over out in the street. Well, somebody might go, yeah, at Mark's house, he went out there and killed a cat in the road. And it's like, well, no, I was at the house and a cat died, but I didn't do it, right? So they'll tell, and that's just a ridiculous example, but if you're a parent of a toxic child, I know you probably have 100 stories like that, where there's a partial truth to where they can try to get people to believe it, and then they expand on their lie. So that partial truth might put you there, might put you in a situation that happened but wasn't the way they said it happened. So you have to remember, because they'll try to convince you that they're right. They will flat out 100% try to convince you that you're wrong and they're right. And you have to remember, you were the adult then and they were a child. So if they come up with these stories, make sure that you remember it correctly, and you don't let them twist it or do partial truths and added with lies, because that's devastating. It's devastating to a parent. I've even had some of my kids do that, and I've had to remind them, no, I was there, I was the adult, I know what happened. So it's not something that it's fun to talk about. This isn't my favorite topic today on this video, but I think it's an important topic. I think it's something that people need to hear. I think people need to hear that if there's toxic individuals in your life, you need to cut that off. It will just wear on you. Now, if it is a family member, like an adult child, and you do have to cut them off, that's going to be painful as well. It's going to be painful because you're wondering if you did the right thing. Maybe you could have helped them more. If you had only given them that 6th to 10th chance or whatever it is, right? But realize that if you feel like you have to cut somebody off, that's got to be a pretty toxic person. So be careful, be human, be caring. Don't enable, don't engage, don't blindly listen to what they're saying. It's really, man, this is a dark subject to cover, and well, like I said, I think it's important. I think it's very important to be able to recognize that toxicity is coming from somebody who made their own choices. Realize that toxicity is coming from somebody who doesn't want to take responsibility for their own life, and so understand that, like I said, if you're a parent, you're not alone. There are millions of parents that go through this, and I'm not exaggerating. I've talked to so many people that it's almost like every other person can tell a story about a toxic adult child that they had to cut off, at least for a time period, until they decided to come back and grow up. We know scientifically that a person's brain does not fully develop, especially the frontal lobe, until they're in their mid-20s. For girls, it's mid-20s or early 20s. For girls, it's mid to late 20s, even into 30s sometimes for boys. And it's that part of the brain that tells you that could be dangerous, that could be wrong, that the consequence side, right? They don't see the consequence, they see the now. They see the excitement of today. They see the pleasure of right now. They can't see forward, and this is scientifically proven. They cannot see forward to see those repercussions and those consequences of the actions that they take right now. And so even if they're 18, 21, 25, 30, and they're still making bad choices, it can be because their frontal lobe hasn't developed, and everybody's develops differently. And so they can be in their 30s and still making stupid decisions and trying to blame you. So that's that whole frontal lobe not understanding the consequences of the future is why a lot of people go through that. They don't understand the consequences of when they're that young, consequences of doing drugs and what's going to happen to them in 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Becoming an alcoholic, they don't understand that, hey, taking that drink and then just keep on drinking, they're not going to understand what that consequence is going to do to their mind and body 5, 10 years from now. So that's where as parents, we can tell them, but I guarantee they're going to argue with you. I guarantee they're going to tell you don't know what you're talking about. And I guarantee when those consequences do come about, it's going to be your fault. And they'll probably even tell you didn't warn them. They probably will tell you that you should have stopped them if you knew better. But there's no stopping somebody that's like that, right? So anyway, this again is not my favorite topic. It's not my favorite thing to have to cover, but I do feel like I have to cover it. So again, cut out toxic people to the best of your ability. You might be helping them by doing that, because you definitely won't be enabling them by allowing them to stay in your circle of influence and in your life and being able to try to crush you every day. But maybe they will have to grow up and take care of themselves by not having you there to help them. So I know it sounds a lot like I'm talking about just the toxic adult children, but I'm not. I'm talking about toxic people in general. So we've had to cut out some toxic people out of our lives, out of our martial arts school, and we've had to make sure that they didn't have influence on others around us, because they will tell lies, they will tell half-truths, they will do whatever they can to destroy you, especially once you cut them off. Then they try to make it their goal to destroy you, not just to call you names and tell little lies about you or whatever. They will actually take it upon themselves to try and destroy you. Anything you do, they will try to come after. And we've seen that time and time again, where the toxic individual gets cut off, and nobody will put up with their toxicity, and boy, they get unhinged when that happens. So you do have to be careful about that. But take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. Take care, it could be your business. Take care of your business. Don't let toxic people in there. Take care of your family. Don't let outside toxic people control, or even have a say in what your family's going to do. We've actually ran into toxic people at churches, and if they weren't leaving a certain church, we would find somewhere else, because I won't be around toxic people. And they're the ones that'll come up to you and go, hey, we really need to pray for Mark, because he's doing this, and this, and I heard he did this, and I heard he did that, and so that's toxic people. They want to use prayer as a gossip chain. And so, like I said, we are people of faith. We go to church, but I won't put up with toxic people at church. I'll either totally ignore them, or I'll change churches. I don't need that in my life. So toxicity can be everywhere. Toxic people they walk among us. I mean, they're there. You can't deny it. You can't not see it. It's there. So again, this is not my favorite topic. And I know I've said that over and over, but I really struggled even making this video, because I didn't want to be a negative. And I'm hoping that when you see this and you listen to it, you understand that it's not a negative. I'm trying to help you. And if you are that toxic person, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you understand what you need to do, and take responsibility and get the help that everybody around you wants you to get. If you feel like you're being cut off in every direction, it's not everybody else. You're the common denominator. So if you are that toxic person, please get help. Go talk to somebody. A counselor will actually let you tell your lies for a little while. So if that's what you feel like you need to do, is go tell people how bad everybody around you is, and you need to talk to a counselor like that, go ahead. They'll let you lie for a while. And if they're a good counselor, they'll start calling you on it. So if you are that toxic individual, believe me, your friends and family that had to cut you off want you back. They want you back. They want who you were back. They don't want the toxic person you've become back. So make sure you do what it takes to get the help you need, whether it's getting off substance, whether it's a mental illness that you need to get taken care of, or a medication you need to be on, or counseling that you need to do. It's really important. And a lot of our veterans go through this, and they think that since they're warriors, they're not supposed to get help. But to me, I think the bravest thing is if you have issues and you become toxic. I think the brave thing is to get help. The cowardly thing is to hurt people or hurt yourself. That's what a coward does. So, do your best. If you're dealing with toxic people, you can't enable them. Pray for them. Try to direct them to counseling or something that could help whatever their issue is. If you're the toxic person and you don't think you're the toxic person, if you're being cut off by pretty much everybody and only new people will come into your life because you allow new people in and you let them think you're a great guy, and then pretty soon you start pulling out that toxicity and they leave, that's you. If nobody around you wants to be around you, if your friends and family have stopped talking to you, and I'm saying this out of compassion, I'm saying this out of love, I'm saying this out of being a human being, get help. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that thorn in everybody's side. You don't want to be that toxic mix that messes everybody's life up. Don't be that. Get the help you need. Seek out help. If you don't think you need help, go talk to a counselor and find out, right? Maybe you're justified. Maybe everybody around you is toxic, and them cutting you off was a good thing for you. But more likely than not, if you're being cut off and and you know, from your friends to your family don't want to be around you anymore, pretty sure you're the toxic individual. So go get that help. And you know, I'm sorry to have to do this video. I really am. I really didn't want to do this. I, you know, was talking to my wife about how this video is going to go. I thought it was going to be quick, and looks like so far it's almost double my other videos. And I didn't want it to be that. I was hoping I could hit it hard, hit it fast, and get it done. But there's just so much to unpack with this. So, you know, if this is the first video you're seeing of me, don't think that all of my videos are dark. Don't think all of my videos are this man, depressing almost. But you know, go look at my other videos before you judge me on this one. And you know, I hope this helps somebody. You know, it's a hard subject to talk about. It's hard for me to talk about, but I hope it helps somebody. I hope somebody watching this either goes, wow, I'm toxic, I need to get help. Or they're a person that's like, wow, I've been blamed for everything in their life, but they're an adult. Why did I allow them to do that to me, right? So I hope this helps. I hope it's not too dark and depressing to watch. I mean, that's really not who I am. I actually hated doing this video. You know, I told my wife I was going to try to get it done quick and over with, and it kind of drug out a little bit because there's so many branches off the toxicity that you can go. So remember, I am uncut, uncensored. I don't follow a script. I do a topic and I talk. And I don't have all the answers, but I'll give you the answers I do have, and they might not be correct for you, but they're from my experience, from my knowledge, from my travels, from my interactions with others. So please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you turn those notifications on and leave those comments. I think this one is going to get some comments because I feel a lot of people deal with this, and I feel like it's a good thing. So thanks again to our sponsors, Truck It. Thanks everybody for watching. Please click that, give us a thumbs up, and click that subscribe, turn on those notifications, and we'll see you next time.